Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about Rule 1 to 38 and their descriptions. Rule 1. Application. This rule shall apply to all vessels upon high seas in all vessels connected therewith navigatable by sea-going vessels. Rule 2. Responsibility. Nothing in this rule shall exonerate any vessel, or the owner, master, or crew thereof from the consequences of any neglect to comply with these rules, or of the neglect to any precaution which may be required by the ordinary practice of the case. Rule 3. General definitions. In this rule, it defines the terms used and meaning of the words used of the line of work, including the words vessel, vessel engaged in fishing, seaplanes, and etc. Rule 4. Application. Rules of this section apply to any condition of visibility. Rule 5. Lookout. Any vessel shall all times maintain a proper lookout by sight and hearing, as well as by any available means appropriate in the prevailing circumstances and conditions as to make a full appraisal of the situation of risk of collision. Rule 6. Safe speed. Every vessel shall at all times proceed to a safe speed so that she can take proper and effective action to collision and be stopped within a distance appropriate to the prevailing circumstances and conditions. Rule 7. Risk of collision. Means appropriate to the prevailing circumstances and conditions if the risk of collision exists. If there is any doubt, such risk shall be deemed to exist. Rule 8. Action to avoid collision. Any alteration of course or at speed to avoid collision shall, if the circumstances of the case, succession of small alterations of course and or speed should be avoided. Rule 9. Narrow channels. A vessel proceeding along the course of a narrow channel or fairway shall keep as near to the other limit of the channel or fairway which lies of her of starboard side as is safe and practicable. Rule 10. Traffic separation schemes. A vessel using a traffic separation scheme shall normally join or leave a traffic lane at the terminal of the lane, but when joining or leaving from either side shall do so at as a small an angle to the general direction of the traffic flow as practicable. Rule 11. Application. Rules in this section is applicable to all vessels in sight of one another. Rule 12. Sailing vessels. When the sailing vessels are approaching one another so as to involve risk of collision, one of them shall keep out of the way of the other. Rule 13. Overtaking. Notwithstanding anything contained in Rules of Part B, Section 1 and 2, any vessel overtaking any other shall keep out of the way of the vessel being overtaken. Rule 14. Head-on situation. When two power-driven vessels are meeting on reciprocal forces as to involve risk of collision, each after her course into starboard shall pass on the side of the other. Rule 15. Crossing situation. When two power-driven vessels are crossing so as to involve risk of collision, the vessel which has the other on her own starboard side shall keep out of the way and shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, avoid crossing each other of another vessel. Rule 16. Action by giveaway vessel. Each vessel which is directed to keep out of the way of another vessel shall so far as possible shall take early substantial action to keep well clear. Rule 17. Action by stand-on vessel. From any cause, the vessel is required to keep her course and speed finds her place so close that collision cannot be avoided by the action by the giveaway vessel. She shall take such action as well best and to avoid collision. Responsibilities between vessels. Any vessel other than vessel not under command shall avoid impeding the safe passage of a vessel constrained by her draft, exhibiting the signals in Rule 28. Rule 19. Conduct of vessels in restricted visibility. Speed adapted to the prevailing circumstances and conditions of restricted visibility. Rule 20. Application. The rule concerning the lights shall be complied with by sunset. Two other lights shall be exhibited except such lights as cannot be mistaken for the lights specified in these rules. Rule 21. Definitions. This rule states the uses and definitions of lights in a vessel such as masthead, stern, side, towing, and flashlight. Rule 22. Visibility of lights. The lights prescribed in this rule shall have an intensity as specified in Section 8 of Annex of these regulations so as to be visible at the following minimum ranges. Rule 23. Power-driven vessel underway. A power-driven vessel underway shall exhibit a masthead light forward and a second masthead light aback, off, and higher than the forward one, except that a vessel of less than 50 meters in length shall not be obliged to exhibit such light. Rule 24. Towing and pushing. A power-driven vessel when towing shall exhibit two masthead lights in a vessel in a vertical line. Rule 25. Sailing vessels underway and vessels under oars. A sailing vessel's underway shall exhibit side lights and stern light. Rule 26. Fishing vessels. A vessel engaged in fishing, whether underway or at anchor, shall exhibit only the lights and shapes prescribed in this rule. Rule 27. Vessels not under command or vessels restricted the ability to maneuver. A vessel not under command shall exhibit two all-round red lights in a vertical line and two balls or similar shapes in a vertical line where it can best be seen, and when making through the water, in addition to the lights prescribed in this paragraph, side lights and a stern light. Rule 28. Vessels constrained by their draught. A vessel constrained by their draught may, in addition to lights prescribed in power-driven vessels, exhibit where they can best be seen 3 all-round red lights in a vertical line or a cylinder. Rule 29. Pilot vessels. A vessel in a pilotage duty shall exhibit at or near masthead two all-round lights and a stern light when underway. In addition, side lights and stern lights. Rule 30. Anchored vessels. A vessel at anchor shall exhibit where it can best be seen, in forepart and all around, a white light or one ball. Rule 31. Seaplanes. Where it is impracticable for a seaplane or a wig craft to exhibit lights or shapes of the characteristics or in the positions prescribed of the rules of this part shall exhibit lights as closely as similar in characteristics and in positions as possible. Rule 32. Definition. The word defined in this rule are instruments in a vessel, such as whistle, short blast, and prolonged blast. Rule 33. Equipment for sound signals. A vessel of 12 meters or more length shall be provided by a whistle. A vessel with 20 meters or more in length shall be provided by a bell. addition to the whistle, and a vessel with 100 meters or more in length, of which cannot be confused with a bell. Rule 34. Maneuvering and warning signals. When vessels are in sight of one another, a power-driven vessel in underway when maneuvering as authorized or required by these rules. Rule 35. Sound signals in restricted visibility. A power-driven vessel making way through the water shall sound at intervals of not more than 2 minutes, one prolonged blast. Rule 36. Signals to attract attention. If necessary to attract the attention of another vessel, may make a sound or light signal that cannot be mistaken by another vessel for any signals authorized, or may direct the searchlight of the beam in the direction of danger in such a way as not to embarrass any vessel. Rule 37. Distress signals. When a vessel is in distress and requires assistance, she shall use or exhibit the signals described in Annex 4 to these regulations. Rule 38. Exemptions. Any vessel, provided that she complies with requirements of the international regulations for preventing collision at sea, which of the regulations may be exempted as follows, such as the installation of lights with ranges as prescribed in Rule 22.